Hello and welcome to the 67 Hail Hail YouTube channel again. Our guest today, as in the previous two videos that we've been publishing over the last few days, it's Jackie McNamara and my colleague and friend, Hamish. Jackie, today we're going to talk about Celtic transfers. Now, this is obviously something the fans are very, very interested in at the moment. It's an unusual transfer window in the sense that it doesn't close until October now, and matches are underway, and there's a long time for Neil Lennon and Nick Hammond and Peter Lawwell to consider who to sign at Celtic over the next few months. Now, we've already completed the deals for goalkeeper Vasilis Barkas, and we extended the loan of Mohamed El Yunusi. Just your thoughts on those two coming into the club first. We've obviously not seen Barkas in action yet, but to my mind, it looks like he has the profile of a keeper who can make a big impact at Celtic. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I think that was a really important signing. I think a number one there, especially after Foster not coming back and Craig Gordon leaving. I think it was important to get him in. By all accounts, he looks the part. He's an international goalkeeper. I think it looks a good signing for the club. Elyounoussi, I liked him in spells last year. I think he looked sharp. I think it took him a little bit to start with, but once he got into it, and I think he took a knock, which set him back a little bit. But I think he's a good player. I think I think Neil's had some good football at him, and I think he'll improve him this season. He's got pace, and I like the balance when he's playing. When he pulls inside, the Taylor goes round him. He's on his right foot. He's capable of bending one in at the corner or striking a goal or reversing it, get back in behind. So the balance of the team, I think he's very good for that. In terms of other positions, obviously we ain't seen what Neil's going to bring in or let out. There's talk of Bio going out on loan there, which I think would be good for him to get games. He's not played a lot of football. To get some experience in games maybe at this level and see how. I think a good run of games would help him.
There's chat about Bio perhaps making a loan move to France. That's the latest reports, as we're at the time of recording. But do you think a move to a Scottish team might be more beneficial for a player like Bio, who has to kind of adjust to the Scottish game, the physicality of it, rather than head abroad and perhaps a more illustrious league, or perhaps for a better team, but might not quite get the development that he needs to make a future impact at Celtic?
Well, I think if he stays in Scotland, I think he's more than capable of handling the physical side. He is physical. He's I like little bits about him, what I'd seen. I know he's been very unfortunate with injuries and muscle tears and hamstrings. If he went to somewhere like France, then if he was coming back to the club, it might be if he goes somewhere like that, it's maybe more to put him in the shop window that he does well and they reinvest that. So if I can understand both sides, to be honest, but I think the most important thing is if he's not going to feature much, is to get him out and get him game times. If you're going to bring someone else in, they've been linked with a few strikers they've brought. Obviously, Kamala's come back pre-season and looking a good bit stronger.
Looking very sharp, yeah.
So other than that, position-wise, if you're asked, I think possibly another centre-back for me. If Julian or Ayer gets injured, you've got El Hamed, but just the three of them.
Suddenly a worry. Well, what's your thoughts on that, Hamish? Are you a bit concerned about the centre-half position, or can you kind of make do with what we've got at the moment? We do have Nir Bitton as a natural midfielder who can kind of slot in there as well. What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, and well, you mentioned Bitton and El Hamed, but are either of them proper centre-back options? They probably are, but I mean, you would argue that certainly Bitton was signed, all those years ago as a midfielder, and El Hamed was signed as a right-back. So, you're almost, making do with what you've got there. But we're in the transfer window at the moment. Why doesn't the club just go out and buy another centre-back? They bought a really good one last year, Julian. We paid the money for him. Now, I'm not expecting the club to fork out $7 million again on, another centre-back when chances are he's going to be, play second fiddle to Ayer and Julian. But there are players out there the club could get in, experienced heads. that they could bring in to give us a little bit of cover, because we are just an injury to either of the Chris's at the back, away from a bit of a disaster. And it'd be a bit of a nightmare going into European qualifiers with Beaton at centre-back, or even El Hamid. I mean, I think those guys would do a job, but when you're playing against, elite opposition, you'd much rather have 2 quality players back there. But I mean, the last, 5 or 6 Champions League campaigns in terms of the qualifiers we've ended up with, Beaton and Jack Hendry and Owen O'Connell played at the back, I remember, in Kazakhstan. So we always find ourselves in this situation. So I just really hope this year the club go out and buy another centre-back, because, Simunovic has left, and obviously the jury was still probably out on Simunovic, or it had, delivered a guilty verdict. I don't think they were too happy with him, but he was still a defender who was a centre-back and knew how to defend, and we've certainly lost a player there and we've not replaced him.
Now, Jackie, you were just talking about the striking position there, and we touched on the defence, but the main links over the last couple of weeks have actually been 2 strikers, where we're linked with the West Ham forward Albion Ajeti, who'd done well at the Swiss side Basel. I'm not pronouncing that in the correct way, I don't think, but we'll go with it. And we've been linked with Ivan Toney of Peterborough United. Now, Toney has quite the goal record in English League One, 26 goals. And 36 appearances, I think, last season, by far and away the top scorer in that division. Is that kind of firepower? I know you talked about it might be necessary if Bio goes out on loan, but do you think we need just that little bit more clinical quality? And do you think that Toney might be the man to do that?
Possibly. It depends how if we were to get him, how he would handle stepping in there.
Yeah.
Because I think that's a difficulty as well. I know Neil's changed it in certain times, but if you've got too many players or too many strikers, you've got Griffiths that, a lot being said over the last sort of month about Lee, about his fitness. And I watched the game last week when he took a hand in the goal. He looked okay in the game. He also wasn't involved in the Hamilton game. But you're hoping there that he can, or should be, fit and pushing to be involved in that, especially, as I said, when Neil changed it after January, they went the 2 up, and I thought him and Edouard linked very well. You've got Kamala there. But I think the most important is options that Neil's got. If we're going to do well in Europe, and for me, the league is the most important this season.
Yeah,
absolutely.
The European run, or getting in the group stages, would be an absolute bonus. But I would take the league all day. That's the most important.
Well, I'm certainly hoping that we can bring in the recruits. We've got until the 5th of October, I think, to bring in players that can fire us towards 10 in a row. Personally, I'd love to see Toney in the hoops. I think he's a good prospect. He's only 24, he's young and can come in and do it. But whether the club can, shell out the kind of money that it would take to bring him in, or whether a team in the lower half of the Premier League might want to take a chance on him, we're just going to have to wait and see. For now, that's our look at the transfer situation at Celtic at the moment. My thanks to Jackie and Hamish as always. We'll be back with more transfer chat, I'm sure, over the next few weeks and months, talking through some of the targets, some of the names that are being linked with a move to Celtic Park. For now, hail hail.